Marcus Reed thought the cameras would never recognize him, and Daniel Harper believed his quiet suburban life was protected by alarms and locked doors. But at 11:58 p.m. on Maplewood Drive, a single flicker of a porch light marked the beginning of a cold-blooded murder captured in chilling silence. Maplewood Drive was the kind of suburban street where nothing ever seemed to go wrong. The lawns were neatly trimmed, porch lights glowed warmly through the evening, and security cameras quietly watched from doorbells and rooftops. Neighbors waved during the day and locked their doors at night, confident that their quiet routine would never be disturbed. It was late autumn, and a thin layer of fog drifted slowly along the pavement, softening the yellow glow of the streetlights. By 11:30 p.m., most of the houses were dark. At 11:42 p.m., a dark-colored sedan turned into the street without headlights. The engine hummed softly before the vehicle rolled to a stop beneath a large oak tree. It was positioned carefully, just outside the clear range of most cameras. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the driver's door opened slightly, and a hooded figure stepped out. Gloves covered the person's hands, and their face remained hidden in shadow. Across the street stood Daniel Harper's home. Inside, he followed his usual nightly routine. Lights switched off one by one. The television screen went black. The alarm system beeped softly as it activated. Everything appeared normal. At 11:58 p.m., Daniel's porch light suddenly flickered and went dark. The hooded figure moved closer, staying tight against the wall, carefully avoiding direct camera angles. The neighborhood remained silent, unaware that within minutes, that silence would hide a crime planned with chilling precision. The next morning, Daniel Harper failed to arrive at work, something that had never happened before. He was known for being punctual and disciplined. When repeated phone calls went straight to voicemail, concern quickly replaced confusion. By early afternoon, a coworker contacted the police to request a welfare check. Officers arrived at Maplewood Drive expecting to find a simple explanation, perhaps illness or a forgotten phone. Instead, they stepped into a carefully staged silence. The front door was locked, and there were no signs of forced entry. Windows were intact. The alarm system was still armed. From the outside, the house looked undisturbed. After gaining access, officers entered cautiously. The air inside felt still and heavy. Furniture stood neatly arranged. Nothing appeared stolen. There were no broken objects or obvious signs of struggle. Daniel Harper was found lying on the living room floor near the hallway entrance. He was on his back, one arm slightly extended, as if he had tried to reach for something. A single stab wound marked his chest. There was no excessive blood spread across the room, suggesting the attack had been swift and controlled. The precision of the injury immediately raised suspicion. This was not random violence. Detectives began documenting the scene carefully. Every surface was dusted, every detail photographed. The quiet house seemed to be holding its breath. When investigators requested access to nearby security footage, they hoped it would confirm their early theory. What they discovered on those cameras would turn a quiet neighborhood into the center of a chilling investigation. Detectives gathered hours of CCTV footage from homes along Maplewood Drive and began reviewing it frame by frame. Most of it showed nothing unusual: empty sidewalks, a stray cat crossing the road, tree branches moving in the cold night air. Then, at 11:56 p.m., one camera captured the hooded figure approaching Daniel Harper's porch. The person paused briefly near the door, standing just outside the direct line of the doorbell camera. Within seconds, Daniel's porch light went dark, as if someone had cut the power or switched it off from inside. Another camera from across the street recorded a faint shadow moving past Daniel's living room window around 12:17 a.m. The figure appeared only for a moment before disappearing deeper into the house. After that, the exterior cameras showed no movement at the front entrance. No one exited through the door. No car headlights turned on. The sedan parked beneath the oak tree remained hidden in shadow. Investigators widened their search and reviewed footage from a higher-mounted security camera installed on a nearby rooftop. At 12:26 a.m., something unusual appeared inside Daniel's open garage window. The trunk of his car, parked inside, seemed to lift slightly. It stayed open for a few seconds before slowly lowering back into place. There was no clear image of a person entering or exiting, yet the subtle movement suggested activity inside the garage. Detectives now faced a troubling question. If the killer went inside, how did they leave without being seen? Detectives turned their full attention to the garage, believing it held the missing piece of the puzzle. From the outside, nothing looked unusual. The garage door was closed, and Daniel's car remained parked inside exactly as it should have been. There were no visible signs of tampering. The vehicle doors were locked, and the trunk appeared secure. Still, the slight movement captured on the rooftop camera could not be ignored. Forensic teams carefully examined the garage floor. Faint scuff marks were found near the rear of the car, barely visible unless viewed at the right angle. They were not deep enough to suggest a struggle, but they indicated recent movement. Inside the house, investigators accessed Daniel's personal security system. He had installed indoor cameras in the hallway, living room, and garage for extra protection. The footage revealed something chilling. At 12:10 a.m., the garage camera feed abruptly cut to black. There was no technical malfunction reported by the system. The camera had been manually disabled through the control panel inside the house. Only someone with access could have done that. This discovery changed the direction of the investigation. The killer had not only entered without forcing the door, but had also known how to navigate the security system. Detectives now believe the suspect was either familiar with Daniel's home or had studied it carefully in advance. The silence inside the garage was no longer empty. It felt deliberate, like a carefully erased moment in an otherwise continuous recording. As investigators continued reviewing the footage, they focused on every small detail that might reveal the identity of the hooded figure. Most of the person's body was hidden under dark clothing, and gloves covered the hands. The face was never clearly visible, but during one brief moment, as the figure passed under a streetlight, the sleeve shifted slightly. For less than a second, a small tattoo appeared near the wrist. It was a simple symbol, a triangle crossed by a thin line. Detectives enhanced the image as much as possible. The tattoo was faint, but the shape was clear enough to recognize. They began comparing it to photos from Daniel Harper's social media accounts and past gatherings. Daniel did not have many close friends, but one name appeared repeatedly in older posts: Marcus Reed. The two had attended college together and had recently reconnected after years without contact. Scrolling through archived pictures, investigators spotted the same triangle symbol on Marcus's wrist in a beach photo taken years earlier. It matched perfectly. The discovery immediately made him a person of interest. Neighbors were questioned again, and one resident recalled seeing Marcus visiting Daniel's home just days before the murder. The visit had seemed friendly at the time. When contacted, Marcus claimed he had been out of town on the night of the crime. He insisted he had not visited Maplewood Drive in weeks. At first, there was no clear evidence to challenge his statement. But the cameras that captured Daniel's final moments were not the only cameras watching that night. Investigators expanded their search beyond Maplewood Drive and began reviewing traffic surveillance from roads leading into the city. It did not take long to find something important. At 10:48 p.m. on the night of the murder, a highway camera captured a dark sedan matching Marcus Reed's vehicle entering the city limits. The license plate was partially visible, but clear enough to confirm the match. His claim of being out of town quickly collapsed. With this new evidence, detectives obtained a warrant to search Marcus's home. Inside his garage, they found cleaning supplies that appeared recently used. In a trash bin, they discovered a pair of black gloves stuffed beneath paper towels. Laboratory testing later revealed microscopic fibers on the gloves that were consistent with fibers collected from Daniel Harper's living room carpet. Though not dramatic, the match strengthened the case. Financial records uncovered another motive. Marcus was in significant debt. Bank statements showed large withdrawals and overdue payments. Further investigation revealed that years earlier, Daniel had invested money in a business venture with Marcus. The venture had failed, leaving Daniel at a loss. Recently, Daniel had begun demanding repayment. Despite mounting evidence, one mystery remained unsolved. No camera clearly showed Marcus leaving the property. The parked sedan seen earlier had never been recorded driving away from Maplewood Drive. Detectives were certain he had been there, yet the footage seemed incomplete. The answer, they believed, was hidden somewhere inside Daniel's own home system. Detectives returned to Daniel Harper's smart home system, determined to uncover what they had missed. The system controlled the lights, alarm, and garage door, all accessible through a mobile application. A detailed activity log recorded every action taken that night. For hours, investigators scrolled through timestamps, searching for anything unusual. At first, the entries appeared routine. The alarm was activated at 11:51 p.m. The porch light shut off at 11:58 p.m. Then, at 12:22 a.m., a remote login was recorded from an external device. The account used was not Daniel's primary login, but a secondary backup account created years earlier when the system was first installed. Records showed that Marcus Reed had helped Daniel set up the system. His email had been linked temporarily during installation. Although Daniel later changed his password, the backup access had never been removed. At 12:23 a.m., the garage door opened for exactly 45 seconds. No indoor camera recorded the event because the garage camera had already been manually disabled. After 45 seconds, the door closed again. The alley behind the house had no surveillance coverage. This revelation changed everything. Marcus had not needed to hide in the trunk of Daniel's car. He had calmly walked out through the garage into the unmonitored alley. The carefully timed remote access explained the missing footage. The crime had been silent, organized, and deliberate. Marcus had used technology meant for safety as his escape route. With the digital records, traffic footage, fiber evidence, and financial motive aligned, investigators moved quickly. Marcus Reed was arrested and formally charged with Daniel Harper's murder. The case that once seemed mysterious now appeared methodical. Prosecutors built their argument around planning and intent, emphasizing how carefully the crime had been carried out. This was not an act of sudden anger. It was deliberate. Forensic analysis confirmed that the single stab wound had been delivered with remarkable precision. The blade had struck directly between ribs, piercing the heart with minimal external damage. Medical experts concluded the attacker understood anatomy well enough to ensure death within seconds. Records revealed that Marcus had previously worked as a medical assistant for several years before changing careers. That detail gave the final piece of context to the clean and controlled scene investigators had found. Financial documents showed increasing pressure on Marcus. He faced mounting debt and legal notices. Daniel's recent demand for repayment may have threatened to expose him publicly. Instead of resolving the issue, Marcus chose a permanent solution. During the trial, the enhanced CCTV footage displaying the faint tattoo became one of the most powerful pieces of evidence. It was a brief image, almost invisible to the naked eye, yet impossible to ignore once identified. In the end, it was not a witness or confession that solved the case. It was a silent network of cameras and digital logs. On a quiet suburban street, technology had captured the truth that Marcus believed would remain hidden forever.